Hello and welcome to the pilot episode of Check the Tape podcast. My name's Daryl. You all know me from the Pretty Bubbles podcast if you've followed from there. And Matt and Jamie, how are we doing, boys?
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. It's Friday. I would say it's sunny, but it's not. It's been raining non-stop pretty much all week. But
I've got some sun here in Stanford, but it's definitely dark as well at the same time.
Wouldn't know it's the 1st of April tomorrow.
Cricket season.
With any luck, football will be off on Sunday.
I've got a feeling it won't be because I've not played on it for a couple of weeks. So
and the rain isn't around tomorrow either now, I don't think.
So
that's my weekend ruined.
Yeah.
You wait for West Ham on Sunday at 4 o'clock.
The only good thing, that West Ham we'll probably miss about half hour of it, where we've got such a late kickoff, which is also dreadful. Half 12 kickoff in men's football is just horrific. But yeah, anyway,
give them the points. We should protest. Take a stand.
Anyway, we have changed from the Pretty Bubbles podcast. Just if anyone see our social media statuses, which I will pass to Matt later on for handles, see if he can get them right. We just didn't really have the time to sort of get on. Pretty much from now 2 podcasts a week with West Ham being in Europe, families, lives, jobs, just one of those things. So we decided to change what we were doing. We still wanted to pod, so we're going to go to a new one. We are going to have another sort of host with us as well, Ryan Brewer, when he's around. But the whole aim of this is to talk about previous sporting moments and sporting history that has occurred, and we've sort of not even just the stuff that we've been around to see, but just bits from history that we want to talk about. So we'll range from pretty much everything to football to wrestling, as Matt and Brewer are very big fans of wrestling, and
me and you will just shut up and not talk.
Yeah, so we will.
That's the dream, Jamie not talking.
We'll range from everything from documentaries and stuff like that to like previous Ashes when things are coming around. So that is sort of the whole aim of this, and just to enjoy it and not be sort of weekly. We would sort of talk about doing it every 2 weeks. So that's the plan. Today's episode, we're just going to talk about sort of favourite sporting moments from our time that we've sort of witnessed. Who wants to start? Anyone got something that they want to sort of talk about?
Is it the easiest point to start about is one sport we all enjoy in terms of cricket, and I think a moment where we're all there together.
Yeah.
Ben Stokes innings at Headingley on Ashes Sunday when we were playing Super Sixes.
You could just talk about that whole summer as a whole, can't you, as a cricket fan?
Being from Essex as well, seeing them win the T20 Blast and County Championship.
Yeah, the Stokes innings in the Ashes, just a shame that it wasn't a winning Ashes. That's probably the only downer on the summer. And obviously Stokes' innings in the World Cup to win the World Cup for England as well. Just a pretty massive summer, especially for us as lads as well. It was just sort of before that point. I think you'd obviously had your own house by then. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, now kids and stuff. What a summer it was to have. Just enjoying it at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't a mental summer. I in terms of that Stokes innings, both of them really, I've never been so nervous during both. Some incredible moments from the Gary dropping the ball to the LBW that should have been out.
I will maintain until my dying day that was not out.
Yeah,
that was sliding. DRS, like Hawkeye got that wrong because there was 2 points of contact. That was not out.
Because obviously during COVID they did all the old got Stokes and that to talk about the innings, and he said the exact same thing. The DRS I think sees it hits the first pad then the second, so it thinks it's straightening. But in reality, it's sliding by miles. Yeah. It's not often Joel Wilson is right, but it felt like he was right there.
I think the innings, the World Cup innings, was a lot more nervous and a lot more nerve-wracking than the Ashes one, because that Ashes one we were in a situation where we shouldn't have won the game.
Yeah.
So it was just a freebie, and that day is a day that I'll never forget. As Jamie said, we all play for Stanford Cricket Club, and we do a club event every year, Super Sixes, and the event stopped, and I've never seen the club. Obviously, I've seen the club busy, but never as busy as a whole lot of people watching two TVs and being so invested in something.
It was heaving in there.
It was, and then to go back out and finish our club event in the dark. Obviously, playing cricket is hard enough anyway, but let alone when it's black outside.
And you're pissed.
And you're pissed. Yeah,
I was in that final, fielding in the dark.
Yeah, it was a very eventful
couldn't
day.
see a thing.
Great day. But probably for me and you, Matt, as cricket fans, because Jamie, you're obviously a bit younger than we are.
He's a baby.
The next big cricket thing, especially for me, was Ashes 05.
For me, that was so. That summer I turned 13, so I was playing cricket. I was into cricket, but that was the first summer that really got me into watching cricket, especially Test cricket. It was just epic. Everything about that summer, starting with the opening Test, going as badly as it always does for us at Lords, but just everything about that summer. Then you like the McGrath injury, rolling his foot over the ball in the warm up. Like Strauss's catch at slip, Flintoff just being Flintoff, KP really announcing his arrival to the Test stage. It was just magic.
That was the summer I left school, and it worked out perfectly. We got sort of dumped out of school because we were a bit of a bad year, and they weren't going to let us have much study leave. But we caused carnage. There was a house.
Does it sound like you?
There was a house next to our school with a swimming pool, and pretty much half our year ended up in the swimming pool at lunchtime, and then covered the school in flour. So we got voted out the week before sort of the Ashes started, and then it finished the day before we started college. So for a summer, it was just, and that was the birth of garden cricket in my garden at my mum and dad's as well. Just an incredible summer that we had, and as you said, everything. Obviously, I'm the oldest of the three, and knowing I was a little bit more into it, watching it by then. But again, that cemented Test cricket for what it is for me now. We as free cricket fans don't miss a lot of England Tests at any point, even the stupid o'clock ones in Australia. So that was a really big thing. Any more cricket?
I was 7, and I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, you missed out. I guess 09 was good.
09 was good because there was just moments, and I think that's the same as 15. 15 with the broad innings.
Yeah,
there's just moments, but that 05 Ashes, the whole Ashes is just incredible.
My first iconic Ashes moment is an Aussie moment. Was the Boxing Day Test match in 2006 when Warren got his 700th wicket. I was there. That's the iconic moment for me that I'll always remember. And I know it sounds stupid to know not an Australian moment, but I remember seeing the stadium, like MCG, the cricket fans all know how big that is and how many people will attend. When he got Strauss out for the 700, it felt like about a quarter of the stadium just left.
Yeah.
Because he'd done it. And it was like, that's it. I've seen that moment. I'll move on. So that will always be my first big Test match memory. But yeah, in terms of best English, I think I remember the one down under when Chris Tremlett just went mental.
Cook and Broad, not Cook and Trot, just runs for fun.
Racking up runs for fun.
What's that? 2011.
Yeah.
So I just turned 21, and it was a lot of pissed up nights, and then coming home watching the cricket. You what 18, Matt?
Yeah, so that was bang on for me. I remember round Mashers one night, all night watching it.
Good cricket, lads. Watching a lot of cricket together. Very pissed. Great time. Let's move on to football. Just things. Obviously, we're all West Ham fans. There's not a lot of good memories for us as West Ham. But I think one that we can all discuss. I think. Well, I believe we were all there. Was the playoff final? Was you not there,
Jamie?
Nah, wasn't there.
What year was that? 2012. 2012.
I actually played my first adult cricket game that day. Yeah.
Did you get pumped all around the ground?
and get duck?
We rocked up with 8 players. It was that fucking ropey.
But yeah, that's probably a day. I've had a lot of great days at Upton Park, and I've been to Wembley, I've been to the Millennium Stadium. But that day, especially for me and you, Matt, was one hell of a day. Like,
yeah, I mean, to go up there early doors, ended up in a pub full of Blackpool fans.
yeah, we got off at the we got off at the wrong station. We just got off at the station thinking, oh yeah, it'd be quiet round here, but it was the Blackpool side of town. So we were in a pub. I think there was probably about 10 West Ham fans in this pub altogether with just Blackpool, but they were excellent.
Yeah, everyone had a good time. Everyone got along, and then obviously I missed the Blackpool goal because that was very early in the second half.
Yeah.
And I'd walked all the way round to meet, I think, is it Phil Anderson? No, not Phil Anderson, Jeff Gaylor. I think we met for a beer at half time.
That's right.
And I heard a cheer as I was walking back to my seat. And I was like, oh no. So missed the equaliser. And then the Vaz Tay, like that, just such an epic moment. And then we had a good night as well.
Yeah, that Vaz Tay moment, it caused carnage with just all West Ham fans. And then you don't get it often now where you get the playoff final and then the Champions League final on the same day. And we went back into Liverpool Street and it was Chelsea, Munich. We were in a pub.
If he was here, he would have a lot to say about that game.
We were in a pub with a full lot of Germans as well.
Yeah, I don't know how we did it twice in the same day.
We were with away fans, and we were in this pub, and it weren't just me and Matt this time. It was my dad's mate Gary, and stuff like that. And we had the best night. Like it was carnage. And on the train home, singing Celery all the way home. That day just sticks out. That's one day, and we'll probably talk about that day more in depth with an episode, especially if we start talking about West Ham at some point. Which I'm quite glad we don't do bubbles anymore because they're making me quite depressed at the moment. So, but there's something.
The arguments you two could have.
Pardon?
The arguments you two could have if we were still doing
best
that.
manager in West Ham's history.
Yeah, that's not. Obviously there's loads of sporting moments that we've all probably again seen.
I can think of one that you two specifically might like to discuss.
Go on.
That fateful night, 27.
Oh, fuck off.
It's finally clicked with him.
I'll be honest, that's the reason I support them. It weren't like I supported them before.
I know where we are now. We've gone on to the other football.
Yeah.
Again, that was another.
Yeah.
Oh no. Daryl's dead.
Yeah,
just as we were going to start talking about it.
Yeah, when he was going to be ultra positive, like, I'll be honest, that's the reason I got into NFL. I was a bit into it by that point, but not regular. It weren't like I'd watch it every Sunday. And I remember, I think I started my job in like a week. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to watch it. Let's see what it's like. And I remember going to bed at half time with being 21-3 Atlanta, thinking, that's decent. I don't really care. Woke up next morning, obviously checked the score and saw what happened. And I went, yeah, I support West Ham. Used to the team letting me down. I've been at Atlanta. I'll support them. Obviously, everyone now goes, oh, you're shit. And I'm like, no, that's kind of the reason I picked them. I remember you two were up London, weren't you, that night?
Yep.
And yeah, I can imagine it was messy, especially for him, probably getting mental because New England turned over the biggest score deficit in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, it was. And the annoying thing is there was like Daryl and maybe like one other Pats fan in there. And at half time, everyone was loving it, just obviously ripping into him. The beers were flowing. And then him and this other random guy, just as the night went on, getting more and more. You know what Pats fans are like.
They're the team to hate, though. They're a bit like the Manchester United of football. Like anyone who doesn't like American football. If there's a game on and it's Man U v someone, you're typically going to support the other because you just don't like them. And
there's a team like that in most sports.
Yeah,
and that is a team that, for a long period of time, have been successful. Like United were for a long period of time, they were successful. Yeah. The Pats successful. In baseball, the Yankees successful sides become
hated.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but yeah, sorry about that. My computer decided to switch off. So I missed a lot of that chat, which James is probably quite happy about. But yeah, that was a brilliant night, brilliant morning. Really, we got the first train back home from London. So yeah,
going to the cafe afterwards. And,
yeah. I was going to,
and then someone else sharing a bottle of wine over breakfast.
Jesus Christ, yeah, mental. I was going to talk quickly more about the other football, our football. A couple of memories that stand out in really my mind is the Liverpool final.
Do we have to talk about this one?
Liverpool AC Milan. No, not West Ham.
Oh, sorry.
No,
yeah.
that one. We're not going to talk about that because that'll make me cry. Liverpool AC Milan in the Champions League stands out as something that is an unbelievable memory to watch. The Beckham free kick against Greece, again, the unbelievable moment. Beckham sending off, which probably used to have both too young for 98.
No, that was my first World Cup, really.
Yeah.
Like, I was young, but I was following it.
06 is my first one. Watching us miss the penalties against Portugal and Rooney getting sent off.
I think
that was the perfect introduction to England in tournaments.
I think we'll do a little series on England in tournaments because there's been some, even though there's been some heartbreaks, there's been some good ones over our years as well, especially recently with another manager that we can't stand, another dinosaur.
It always seems though to come down to penalties. Even this most recent World Cup, it came down to penalties.
Yeah,
like
it weren't a shootout, but it was still penalties.
Yeah.
The Liverpool AC Milan one was like, it was fantastic, but it really hammered home to me, like looking back now, how crap it was to have Champions League finals in midweek, like Tuesday or Wednesday nights or whatever it was. It's so much better now that it's on a Saturday night.
I never even comprehended that was a thing.
Yeah, Wednesday night, wasn't it? It was because for some reason, looking back on it now, I was out somewhere and I only caught probably from 40 minutes onwards in that first half, and then I sort of left it on, and then the second half is just, and it's really sort of what Liverpool have been like in the Champions League for a long time. They've done it at obviously Barcelona a couple of years ago, things like that. It was just an incredible watch, and there's been a few good Champions League finals over the years that we've seen. United Chelsea was a good one, just for a neutral, but.
I'm just trying to remember. Like, I actually haven't got massive remembrance of many decent finals in my time. I actually thought last year's was decent. I know Liverpool threw it away, lost to Real Madrid, but I haven't.
The Real Madrid one with Bale scoring, there were a couple of good ones. I think this year's got potential to be a really good end of the European season.
Yeah, well,
there's some good teams around at the moment. So, any other sports memories that really stick out in your mind?
Miracle at Medina.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Miracle at Medina. That was such a good day as well. Like, me and you were watching it at the pub.
I love how alcohol
makes everything better.
That was a Sunday. Well, obviously a single Sunday. We were playing football for the same side at the time. So it was Sunday beers, and we just stayed down there, and the pub. The Inn on the Green stayed open for us. When it stayed open, they shut and just let us stay in there and watch the end. It was, and you're right. All these things come back to us watching stuff and being pissed.
The thing is,
the memories
of everything that happens when it's not necessarily the thing that happens that you're watching, it's the company that you're with at the time, and that's what cements it. It's a bit like things like comedy. Like, you go and watch a comedy show at home on your own. It's funny, but you don't really laugh. When you're in a room with other people, that's when you laugh because it's the enjoyment of having it all together.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something, especially. Obviously, me and you, Matt, have watched a lot of sport together over our years as being friends, and even just normal football memories. Like last year in the pub watching us beat Seville in the pub. Yarmolenko scoring, like memories that stick out like that. Just they seem to be the best memories, and that's something that we're looking to do on this podcast. Is talk about sporting moments and careers that just stand out. I'm sure we'll talk. The good thing is with all four of us, we all love a lot of sports. and there's things that people are not so interested in, like baseball, which we will talk about, and we will sort of learn a bit more on basketball and obviously wrestling as well. There's got to be a few wrestling moments to stick out to you, Matt.
In general, it tends to be, again, it's the nights I've spent with mates watching it. So things like your Royal Rumbles and your WrestleManias, when you're up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, and you're all just having a really good time. The wrestling almost becomes secondary at times because you're just having such a good night. But yeah, like they're the best things for me. It's got to be interesting this year. Like we sat here on Friday. Tomorrow is WrestleMania. Like it's 2 nights now. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. So good luck to anyone.
I think that's taken the. I know they were getting stupidly long. The last one I watched on a Sunday, I was with Bean, our friend Sean, and it was like 6 hours long, which was incredible. Don't get me wrong, but I think doing it over 2 nights takes away that it's not as special to me anymore.
It's twofold. So WrestleMania, they want to get as many wrestlers on the card as they can because that's where the payday is. It's more, I think, for people in the crowd that are there. So if you've got to get there early enough, obviously, to get your seat, there's normally like a pre-show, which if you're watching it, it's like 2 hours now, the pre-show. Then you can have like a 6-hour main card. It's like 8 hours. It's very full on. And also, financially, it makes sense. They can sell out a stadium 2 days in a row. That's double the money.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it does
take it away from it a little bit. It doesn't feel as special as it was.
No, for sure. I've not been a bigger fan in the last couple of years as what I was, but I'm looking forward to seeing some of this week's stuff. There seems to be some good stories on there at the moment,
big time,
which is good. Which is good with how it was sort of a year ago. You look at it and it was pretty dreadful.
Now that old man Vince has tucked his towel between his legs and fucked off.
Yeah, tucked his old boy between his legs.
Tucked his old boy between some other people's legs.
Yeah, between a lot of people's legs. Yeah. So it's quite a good time of year really at the moment for sport. Baseball season just started for me. I'm obviously a big fan of that. Cricket is literally, the county season starts next week, which is just outrageous because it is still, the weather is still dreadful.
It's horrific.
The weather's meant to get quite nice next weekend apparently, but still that out there at the moment is not cricket weather. And we play our first friendly in 2 weeks' time. I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever actually.
Masters next weekend, that's going to be a big one.
That is perfectly timed.
And it's great. So you can start that Sunday night with no issue. If you're not, I've had to put the Sunday off, which isn't a problem, so I wasn't going to miss it. So, but yeah, start of major season. Obviously, Ryder Cup round the corner. You're gearing up for the NFL draft.
The sort of running in football season. So, like, European finals coming up. The title race in the Premier League looks like it's going to be interesting, and the relegation battle. You've got like the stories of like Brighton pushing for Europe and Brentford pushing for Europe. So yeah, this is like peak football, well, not football, peak sports season.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it all as we go. We're not just going to talk about memories. We'll talk sort of relevant news for a period as well, and just sort of had fun with the podcast again. It's sort of become a bit of a chore. The Bubbles running end, isn't it? Especially, it obviously doesn't help when it's a losing season as well. Because it just felt like I was going on it
more of them than winning than West Ham.
Yeah, but we got lucky last year. Like we started with the year in COVID, where we sort of broke out of that relegation battle, and then the 2 years that we've had, we couldn't have asked for a better 2 years doing a podcast.
We're a shit manager, apparently. I know.
Don't do it, boys. Don't do it.
The one thing I'll say is I've been on that case since very early on that he wasn't the right guy for us. Yes, he had 2 years, and I've held my hands up, but
it's time to go.
We are still in massive trouble, and I think that's Sunday's massive. Let's talk. We can talk about. I'm happy to. Sunday's a massive game for West Ham.
We'll win. I think we'll be fine.
I hate it when you
going to win 3-0.
If we lose Sunday, then I'll admit we're starting to be in trouble, but I still think we win.
I hope so. I really do. Anything else you want to discuss? Any other sporting memories that really stick out to any of you?
I was just going to ask you, Daryl. Is there any sport you won't watch?
No, no. My current thing I'm watching at the moment, obviously it's very big American sport time at the moment. So I'm watching March Madness.
Well, that's got to end tonight. It's April tomorrow.
It's April tomorrow.
Yeah, which is the end of March Madness, sort of over the weekend. And it's nice to have back someone that I got a tip early January.
Oh, cheers for sharing it.
Yeah,
I did share it. I shared it in our group chat, and you didn't back it. So there you go.
I don't believe
and
you.
I'll go back and find it if you want.
Don't believe you.
But they're in the final four. So if they win tomorrow, I've got some money back, which is good. Obviously, MLB season just started, and I've been a baseball fan for about 5 years, and the team I follow has not been good for 5 years, and they're finally starting to sort of turn the corner a little bit. So that's exciting. But yeah, I watch everything. So I'm quite looking forward to doing this because I am a fan of pretty much every sport going.
I was going to say, who have you backed?
UConn.
Got ya. I was just trying to see who they're playing.
Yeah. So
one thing that we haven't mentioned, one sport we haven't mentioned, I feel like we've all got sort of all right memories of it, and it's a bit more out of left field. Is horse racing. Obviously, we just had Cheltenham. We all had a good time with the bets on that. But Jamie, you were at Cheltenham last year. Daryl, we've gone to Ascot before. Having a good day out of the races is a fantastic experience.
Mm.
I think it also brings people together.
Yeah.
Because when you're all backing against different horses, but that's for 2 minutes of a day. Like when you're in that race course, you're all there to have fun together. Where if you go to a football ground, there's obviously people at times that don't want to be friendly. That's why I love horse racing, and even just at home, I love watching it. It's something else watching a horse run, like a good horse. Like there's nothing real like it. And a lot of our friends like a bit of horse racing, like the likes of Jono and that, and they all say the same thing. It obviously helps having a gamble on it and having a little wager. Keeps it interesting, but yeah, it's brilliant. There's the only thing with me is there's no real horse that stands out. I can't think of a race where I'm like, Jesus Christ, how good was that? Apart from one, was anyone else on Any Power?
I think Constitution Hill.
Any Power coming down. I think there was that day
the treble.
It was a massive treble on, and it pissed home, and he was. This horse was about 8 lengths clear going into the last jump. And
I was going to say, Tiger Roll, Grand National, back to back.
Yeah,
Tiger Roll. Yeah. There's obviously for us the Denman, Cato Star, like good horses that stand out to us. See, we're far too young to remember like so Red Rum and horses like that. So, the only other sport I'll bring up, boxing. Obviously, we all watch a bit of boxing, and we've all had some good heavyweights in our time and some good boxers in our time that we've been out and watched. Any fights and any boxers that you really love or really
I think the thing that we've all experienced is the rise and now almost fall a little bit of AJ. After he turned pro after the Olympics and he sort of stormed through the ranks, his fight with Klitschko was fantastic.
Incredible.
Like that was obviously his biggest test, and to come through that. But I think on the flip side of that, it shows how like the losses, first to Ruiz and now to, I can't think of his name, Usyk, have really hurt him because like it was on like Tuesday this week. I was just scrolling through and I was like, oh, AJ's fighting at the weekend. It had completely passed me by.
If he loses tomorrow, he's done.
He said he'll retire.
But if he wins tomorrow, it does resurrect his career. But he's got to then call out one. He's got to call out Wilder. He's got to call out Fury.
I think
Fury the last year has been an absolute bellend. Everyone just started to turn to favour Fury, but he's become an absolute bellend again.
I think that's the problem with boxing. There's too much politics now, and I have to admit, I can't remember what the fight was, but it was relatively recently, like in the last year. There feels like there is sort of corruption within boxing, and there was one fight recently where there was a clear winner was decided, but everyone who watched the fight clearly said it was the other way. I'm trying to remember what the fight was.
Boxing's really diluted down because of the influencer stuff, and the lower boxers getting higher cards, like Jake Paul, Tommy Fury the other week. Terrible boxing match, but it was a big money pay-per-view, which we all watched, could see there was one winner, one standout winner through the fight, and it was a split decision at the end of the day. Like boxing, and you can corruption in boxing's got to be there, because if you go back and look at that fight, there was 3 judges, 2 are impartial, 1's American, and the only one that marked that fight down for the American boxer was the American judge. Like, why is this still being allowed in boxing? You've only had it in cricket recently because of COVID. You don't allow teams, refs that support a certain team to ref a certain game, like to ref teams that they support. So why are we getting judges from that country judging things? It just doesn't make sense to me.
The fight I was thinking of, Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall. It was literally about.
I didn't see it.
It was ridiculous. I think there was a big whole discussion on Judging Crisis, how everyone can seem to watch a fight and can normally come up with a relatively similar score. Yet you hear judges come up with something that just feels completely out the water. And it does feel like boxing is struggling. And obviously you look at it and you see these lower fights, even stuff like I can't remember KSI's brother. And it's like, are people just enjoying these sort of fights because they will actually fight each other? Unlike where you see Usyk beat Fury, there's all more politics to it, and they can't seem to agree on things.
Yeah, I agree. 2 fights that stand out for me, and we watched one of them up London, which I believe you was there, Mick, and another locally was the Fox Groves.
I wasn't out for it.
Was you not?
No.
It was one of our mates' birthdays, and we were at sort of London Bridgeway, and that was a good night. That was a heavy night. You obviously, as you said, Joshua Klitschko stands out. I was a bit luckier again with my age to see the likes of, I see the end of Lennox Lewis's career and stuff like that, which is great. I got to experience Hatton, which was an incredible time watching Hatton beat people he should be beating. It's also a great time watching him lose to people like Mayweather and Pacquiao at their absolute best. And I'll say I'll watch Joshua tomorrow night, and I hope he wins, because he's been really interesting to watch over the last 5 years, and he deserves to fight Wilder or Fury. I'd rather see him fight Wilder, because both of them should just come out swinging. Yeah, because both of them ain't got a very good chin.
Fury would just outbox him all night.
Yeah. The only thing that Joshua can hope for there is that he clocks him, but as you've seen, Fury can get up for most things.
Take a lot to keep him down.
Which again was a great night. The Fury Wilder night will stand out in memory for me. The way he just got up in that fight and still won from round 12. Like it's just mental.
Fury Klitschko's another one as well. When he dethroned him, that was like a lot of people went into that fight wanting Fury to lose just because of the persona that he was. Myself, and by the end of the fight, I was like, you know what, fair fucking play.
Yeah, he's a great boxer. Don't get me wrong, but he's just an helmet. He really is just, and he's now becoming an issue with boxing. The whole him and Fury contract at the start of the year or last year, where obviously contracts are going to take time, and he's calling Joshua out saying he's not doing it. It's just like he doesn't want to fight these people anymore, because he knows that in a especially heavyweight, if you get clocked once, it could be over very quickly.
Yeah.
Any other sports?
I don't think there's much we haven't covered.
No.
F1. I'll give a brief mention too. I like a bit of F1. My old man's a big F1 fan, so I've been brought up watching that, and the dominance of Hamilton over the last sort of decade has been great for British sport. But now obviously F1's got its problems as well.
It's a shame that we've not got a competitive car for Hamilton again.
It's good to see Alonso coming back into it. Fighting it out, been on the podium for the first 2 races of the season. It's, and I think obviously F1's going through a lot of changes and politics as well, like a lot of sports are.
I like darts. I know you enjoy it, probably not to the level I do, but obviously.
Love betting on it.
I love playing it. I prefer playing it, obviously, and watching it. But then we all watched the big one around Christmas.
Yeah, and obviously what happened in January this year is probably the best leg of darts ever, and will never be beaten.
Yeah, that's great. And the other sport that probably stands out more for me and you, Jay, because I know you're not a big fan, Matt, is rugby, rugby union.
Yeah.
Lions tours always grip me. I love the Lions tours.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've experienced a couple of really good World Cups as well. Being up at stupid o'clock in the morning watching things and then being relatively pissed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. 2019, when we lost South Africa in the final, and then we went off.
That was one of the worst days in history.
Because we lost to Newcastle.
Because we got up. Yeah, we got up. And then we all went to West Ham afterwards. We were battered. Went to West Ham. West Ham were 3-0 down after about 40 minutes. We left. And West Ham actually put better second half.
Yeah, missed 2 goals. We're about to 3-2. If we'd have equalised, I'd probably, oh, God, I would have jumped in front of the train.
But we've had days like that. Because one of my biggest memories with rugby is obviously the World Cup final in 2003, which I watched my granddad at, again, stupid o'clock in the morning. And I think the times this year are weird as well. Japan, is it France this year? So it's not too bad.
Last, 2019.
Yeah. So we should have a nice one later on this year, and that's again around the same time as the Ryder Cup.
It's just a shame that our rugby team is dog shit now. Like, I know we've got a decent run. Like, we could potentially play Wales in the quarterfinals, who are even worse than us. But you're looking at it going, there's at least 4 or 5 teams probably better than us right now.
Yeah, there's still a bit of time though.
Yeah.
World Cup, you only need a nice run and you get that form going. And as we've seen, like with South Africa in the past, doing things that they didn't look that good and then winning tournaments. So I think we'll call it a day there. We haven't decided what we're going to talk about in our next episode, but it'll be our first one, sort of covering a certain topic, a certain memory, a certain sporting event of some kind. We will try down the line and sort of do things around events that are coming up. I'm sure we'll do certain Ashes ones and Ryder Cup specials and stuff like that, which will obviously pique people's interests. As I said, Ryan Brewer should be joining us on certain episodes, but again, he's another one that just has a life at the moment, and it's hard to get all 4 of us on at times. That's the thing. We're not all going to be on every episode, so it's just try and enjoy it and go from there. And it's been good to be back.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be back. It's always good. Just at least in this, it will be less, hopefully less depressing at times, and less controversial as well. Shouting at each other for 20 minutes at a time. It should be a little bit more relaxing.
It was good though. It was good fun while it lasted.
Yeah, and just to bring it round to what you said at the start, you can find us on Facebook, Check the Tape Podcast, and on Twitter we're at Check the Tape Pod. I will get Instagram sorted at some point, but it doesn't exist yet.
Didn't Jamie say to do that?
Yeah, but I need to get the login details and I don't know them. I have to start a new one.
Fair enough. We are still also on at the very end of our run with the Bubbles Pod. We joined Let's Talk Sports, sort of their podcast and sports sort of base that they've got. So we are still going to be on there. I'll pass the podcast over and they'll put us on there with the YouTube link as well. And hopefully with them, they're going to get us on their live YouTube chats as well when we do sort of record as well. So we'll get some live questions and stuff and a bit of backup like that, which will be good. So, and you can find us at all of the normal podcast outlets.
Yeah,
I believe.
So be on YouTube, obviously, and all of the regular podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you'll find us.
Perfect. And we're looking at doing it sort of every 2 weeks, but we'll sort of put stuff on the social media stuff and just let people know when we are going to be dropping another pod. So that is us from today. I don't really know how to end the pod anymore, as it's not come on your irons. So I'm just going to say thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.